Hello everyone. It's James again. And before I start today's video, I just want to quickly say, all work in this video contains 100% original content of and by myself James Smith, otherwise known as Bgood 4000, and was uniquely created with NAWMAL software, by myself James Smith. As I purchased commercial rights from NAWMAL to produce my unique and original video with this software. Commentary is uniquely my own thoughts, feelings, and expressions. Now that I have that out of the way, I do hope your day is going better than fantastic. With that said, today I want to talk about something very important. You see, in society, many, it appears, gaslight themselves into believing things are a certain way. And they believe the gaslighting of others to believe things are a certain way. And what I mean by that is, are there more narcissists and other toxic individuals out there in the world than what we give credit for? Because we are often told these types of individuals are a small percentage of the population. And at one time that was probably true. But what happened? If it changed, how did it change? Narcissists likely were able to weasel their way into most, if not possibly all, areas of life. Here's an example. I've heard from many people that they no longer go to church. And they just practice their religious faith at home and on their own. And their reasoning usually is that the church they were going to began to become toxic. Meaning there was a lot of manipulation and toxic individuals they kept encountering there. They just said, enough isn't enough. And they stopped going. Or they tried another church and another church, only to find the same thing happening. And I just use this as one example. There are many areas of life where this can be found. Work, social groups, family gatherings, which are getting to become a thing of the past. But you know what I mean. Narcissism and the toxic nature seems to be creeping into most areas of life. Here's another example. There are many people that might say, you know, I could never become a salesperson, because I can't sell things to people that they don't need. Now, this isn't to say that every salesperson is a narcissist. Not at all. Not even close. However, in many cases there has to be a certain amount of detachment in the sales world to get ahead and make top salesperson. Let's say you are selling vacuum cleaners door to door. This vacuum cleaner salesperson might oftentimes knock on doors in poor neighborhoods where there is a less likely the person they are talking to can afford such a vacuum cleaner, just as much as they would knock on the door of someone that lives in a well-to-do area. And in some instances they might avoid the nicer areas, because they know there's a good chance they already have a top-of-the-line vacuum cleaner, or they have a cleaning service come to their home every so often to clean their carpets. So this salesperson might learn that knocking on someone in a lower income area might be a great way to make some sales, even if the person really deep down inside can't afford this product, and they are much better off buying an inexpensive vacuum cleaner elsewhere. But what makes this salesperson be able to knock on the door of someone they clearly know will have trouble affording what they are trying to sell, and clearly knowing it's a product they can likely do without? Well, it's a couple of things. First off, this salesperson is likely in a tough spot themselves. And I compare this tough spot to many of us growing up in a narcissistic home. But there is a shift that happens. And you can see it with you and your siblings. And this isn't to say that you are any better than anyone, as we've all made our mistakes. And though we grew up empaths, narcissistic traits found their way into our lives as well. And we had to do and are still doing the self-work to better our lives. But this salesperson feels bad. Terrible even. They are there trying to sell something to someone just as poor as they are. And they are trying to sell something they don't need. And likely with an expensive maintenance agreement on it that has a lot of loopholes in it. So it doesn't really cover what the customer thinks or is led to believe it covers. Now either the salesperson gets so frustrated with their job and with themselves, They work on a different way to get new customers that can afford what they are selling. And they work on wording that allows them to be honest and upfront about everything they are selling so they don't have as many angry customers later on. If or when the machine breaks down and stops working. Or they get so frustrated with themselves while they are doing such a job. They apply and get a completely different job elsewhere. Even if it's stocking shelves at the local grocery store. And they will oftentimes feel 10 times better. They don't have to use tactics and methods to almost trick someone into buying the product they are trying to sell. They can now just go to work, do their honest living and go home. And again, this isn't to say there aren't honest salespeople out there. Because there are. However, sales is very difficult. So much so. A great many of those that don't like using dishonest tactics tend to leave and move on to non-sales types of jobs. And this is where the other split happens. This frustrated salesperson might just say the heck with it. I have to do what I have to do. And they detach from the misery and hardship their sales tactics might cause others. Meaning those that not only go to low-income areas to trick someone into buying what they have to sell. Or someone that gets an elderly person to spend their last dime to buy something they don't need. This salesperson might not be a full-on narcissist. And they might even be able to see the error of their ways months or years down the line. But what they are doing and the life they are finding themselves living and leading is that of a narcissist. You see, though narcissistic bosses have always existed, there used to be many jobs to pick from. Have you ever heard someone say, there used to be a day where they could quit their job at lunchtime and have another job before dinner? It was this type of setup that kept narcissism, in my opinion, in the workplace in check. And even though we have a lot more rules and on-the-job training in how to treat people a certain way at work, narcissism seems to have grown. You see, with less job availability and more competition, there's a great many people finding themselves in the salesperson example I just gave. But instead of a sales job, these life choices are needing to be made by the average person if they want to get ahead in society or at their job. And the reason is, all it takes is a few narcissists here and a few narcissists there to infect an entire organization or field. Kind of like in the church example. You might had a great time at a church you went to for 20 years. But on year 30 something changed. You can't put your finger on it. But something changed. And usually what that something is a few narcissists were able to weasel their way through many areas of this church. And take control. So now the daily influences and tone is now set by narcissism. The same with your average job. The same with many social organizations. Take a look around. Just look around for a moment. Though I mentioned in my last video that it's possible to make and have good friends. And to even meet a life spouse. Someone that you love and that loves you back. All of this is very true. But it's a lot harder today than it's ever been. And the reason why I believe is, narcissism creeps into one area of someone's life. Such as work. The tone at work is get things done and get ahead by any means you can. And some people try to shy away from it. They leave to another job and they find the same work culture. And to another job. With again the same thing. And eventually something in them breaks. And they think, you know what? I have to support myself. And possibly even an entire family. So they give themselves over to the dark side, so to speak. And the longer they stay on this bad path, the more it will creep into nearly all areas of their life. They aren't just manipulating and doing wrong to their coworkers. They are now lying and manipulating friends, family members, and their spouse. It's like there is a foundation of narcissism that is setting the tone on how you and I live our lives. So what's the answer to all of this? Calling it out for what it is. And getting others to do the same. Which in all honesty it's a bit difficult. Because speaking up about covert mistreatment that you've received, people like to say you are just a complainer. so forth and so on. And narcissists. True narcissists love this fact. Because it keeps the narcissistic machine going and going. And it also keeps it growing. Now, to be fair, even before all of this, we still had narcissist teachers and bosses on the job. And still in nearly most areas of life. But what those that weren't touched by narcissism had? They had family. And they had options. Even a covert narcissist boss might figure out. They will lose good employees if they engage in the narcissistic behaviors on the job. Some couldn't help it. And eventually they closed down. And some would just do their narcissism in their family home, pretending to be nice and kind at work. But the average person, if they didn't like their boss, they would just find another job. We've heard about people in years past working for certain companies for many years. But why is that not the case anymore? Because a great many companies have seemed to covertly embrace narcissism and narcissistic mistreatment as a norm, while publicly saying they have a great workplace to work at. Now just think about that. If you have a boss that literally knows that they target people because of their work tenure, in order to get them fired or quit, just so they can hire someone at a cheaper rate. But publicly they show how great their company is to work for. Just think about how they are to be friends with, or to be married to. We often hear that the business world is dog eat dog, so to speak. What that means is it's ruthless. It's full of manipulation, lies and deception. Just for one purpose: to turn a profit. Someone that has either trained themselves or that was trained by others to be this way, likely will find this behavior creep into other areas of their life. We often hear about ruthless business people, highly smart narcissists and psychopaths. However, this was something that the average healthy person was shielded from. You didn't need as much money to live a decent life in years past. Now it's difficult to make ends meet. And as we know about human nature, if you push someone up against the wall, when it comes to feeding themselves and their family, you will start to see the bad side of some people. Well, narcissists that write the rules for this company and that company, and in many other areas of society, you start to see the inducing of narcissism in a great many people as a survival mechanism. And then it becomes a disorder. You see, when we were growing up, one of our siblings went the way of the narcissist. Because it was not only what they were being trained to be like, it was their brain's way of protecting itself. And because it went unchecked for so long, it became a rigid part of their personality. Thus a personality disorder. Well, you have a great many people not only having this problem because of their family of origin, but from their surroundings. Nearly all the information people are being fed is become a covert manipulator if you want to survive the game. And if you want to get what you want out of the game. And it just spreads and grows and grows. Take a look around. Where are the solid families? Most people are growing up in broken homes. And they are already in a mindset of how do I make it in this world? And they are shown options of going the way of the narcissist even though the world's narcissism aren't used. And they are shown examples of what it's like to not be selfish, to not be a manipulator. And they see this nice person finishes last. Or so they hear. So they are more inclined to be swayed to the side of narcissism. The question is, how do we fix this? Family. 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 You see, right now, marriages aren't strong and have little to no foundation. Because the people getting involved with them have already bitten of the fruit of narcissism. And they carry that manipulation and detachment capabilities into such relationships. So though you are marrying for love, they might be marrying for a come up and or power and control. Because it's all they know. And it's all they are at this point. There should be no more winners and losers in such relationships. Lawsuits should be minimal and uncommon. And third parties being involved should be just as uncommon. We see and hear about in the news all the times. This divorce is happening and that divorce is happening. And this person is getting this money. And that person is losing that money. And all that does is sends a message to the narcissists out there. And those on the fence about going the way of the narcissist. That the life of the narcissist is about winning. And that if they go this way, they will get everything they want. This is why I think the average person should be at least standing up and saying, wait. What's going on with the family here? Why are so many people growing up in broken homes? Oh, it's because there are many treating it like a lotto system. Let's figure out a way to get this third party out of things. A third party that doesn't have the best interest of you and I at heart, but the best interest at them making money. Money you earned. Just so they can take it from you. You see, narcissists look for all areas they can to make money and get narcissistic supply. And if you let them into a certain industry, it's all over. Again. Let this sink in. A great many people that were churchgoers have stopped going to church. And just quietly read their Bible at home. Why? Because way too many narcissists have taken control of their church to where it's no longer a joy to go to. And why did the narcissist take control of such a place? Money. Control. Power. And narcissistic supply. Why would a narcissist want to get involved in organizations and systems that oversee what is deemed to be the best interest of the family? Money. Control. Power. And narcissistic supply. If you can change this one thing, just this one thing, a great majority of other areas of life will fall into line. First off, narcissists will no longer see the value of marriage. Now think about this for a moment. The person that is trying to avoid narcissism and the narcissist, they no longer see the value in marriage. But narcissists, they will argue tooth and nail against prenups and fair marriage laws. Such as, why do you need a legal marriage contract to begin with? Can't one draft up their own documents and get them notarized, as an example? You see, if the family structure makes a comeback, you will still have narcissism. You will. But we will have a lot less of it. The reason is, now we have knowledge of narcissism. And if someone is truly mistreating you, that you should leave and not look back. And this would be a lot easier to do if you weren't in some upside down contract looking to take your last dime. All because you were conned into marrying someone you thought loved you. Now you realize what and who they are. And you want out. But you can't leave because you're scared. Scared of what financial loss will happen to you. A financial loss that is overseen by strangers that don't care about you. But guess what will happen if people married and had families based on love and wanting to raise a good family? And if there was an accident of getting entangled with a narcissist or other toxic type of a person? And if such a thing happened, you were able to get away from them without your life being ruined? And without them or anyone really coming out the winner? Guess what? Narcissist would then start to see no value in marriage. There would be no more narcissistic supply. No more money. No more anything for them. And now you would have safety and security in the home. More people living in the home instead of just you twisting in the wind by yourself trying to make ends meet. So if your son was 25 years old, and had a terrible boss, and wasn't able to find another job he liked where he felt good about what he was doing, he could move back home and take a lesser paying job. A job where he's treated well. The same with your daughter. If she's at a company where it's terrible, and all she can find is a job paying a lot less, but the stress is lower, she can move back home. You see, as we know. And it's been stated not only in my videos, the videos from other content creators, and in the comment section of many of my videos and the videos of others. Narcissists love to keep you dependent on them. This is why your narcissist spouse or ex-spouse tried to get you to sell your car, so you could just buy one car with them. So they could control where you can travel to. They tried to get you to get a joint bank account. So they could have control over your spending. They do all of this for power and control. Well, the more there is the busted up family in society, the more the high up narcissists have control and can push narcissism onto you and me. No matter if it's an overseer from a high up organization, or if it's your boss at work. If there becomes a shift where there is one family home again, a home where any and all of the siblings can come back to for help. Real help. Not enabled help. Eventually you will start to see more family-owned businesses pop back up. And you'll start to see corporations and businesses start to sing a different tune. Right now we are living in a narcissist's market. They dictate the pace. And they have the say-so. Oh, okay. You want another job? Good luck on finding one. And if you do, you will likely have to deal with the same mess. But what if you don't have to put up with it? Narcissists isolate you for a reason. Because it's easier to pick you apart when you are alone. That's why they try to get you to move away from your family and or your friends. And if you have no family or friends, even better for them. Take a look around you. Most people live alone. Most people are divorced. Most people don't see their sons and daughters as much as they would like to. Ask yourself, who benefits from this type of society? That's right. The narcissist. You are stuck working their jobs. And jumping through the hoops they set up for you to jump through in life. If people could just fix this one thing. This one thing. The family. Narcissists wouldn't know what to do with themselves. Because ask yourself another question. If these big organizations that oversee and make choices for families they don't even know, if they really cared about the families out there, why aren't they asking? What is wrong here? Why are so many families suffering? Why are so many families broken? You never or rarely hear this question asked by those that work in such places. And the reason why is your broken family is their paycheck. And it's usually a good paycheck that allows them to buy a home and support their family. Again, this goes back to this so-called dog-eat-dog world many talk about. Narcissists get in control of these systems so they can have control, power, money, and narcissistic supply. And if it comes at your expense, in their mind it's tough luck. And you hear this talk in most places. Well, it's their company. So forth and so on. Yes. It's their company. But have you ever asked yourself what that company would do if you didn't need to work for it? Nor did anyone else. What if people had choices? What if there was a family home? Where less money was needed to keep the home running? Because you didn't have everyone all spread out with their own rent or electric bill. Unless they wanted to move. You see. We gave the narcissists this power. And narcissistic supply. Yes. They conned us into giving it to them. But we gave it to them nonetheless. We can take it back. And the first step is taking a second look at those that oversee the family. And figure out where the problems are. And making it so such organizations are only needed in extreme cases. Because once you give people back family, or the possibility of such a thing, along with not rewarding a narcissist for breaking up such a family, you will start to see narcissism and the narcissists recede to the corners of society. And not the mainstream. At least those are my thoughts anyways. What are your thoughts? I would like to know. Please leave your comments in the comments section below. With that said, I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time. Bye for now. And be good to yourself.